everybody. I'm Jordan Johnson.
I'm Chris Johnson.
With PDQ.com. I'm sorry, he watched the intro and he can't contain himself. Today we're talking about PowerShell 7. It released yesterday.
Yeah, it did.
And I love it.
Me too. That's 1 more than 6, 2 more than 5, 1.9 more than 5.1. Math.
So we have Windows PowerShell 5.1, PowerShell Core 6, and then PowerShell 7 because the incrementing number is not enough for us to know that it's the next iteration.
Should we dive in?
Let's do it.
Okay.
All right, so I guess the first thing we should do is install PowerShell 7.
I would like to use it.
So this is just an invoke expression. It goes to a PS1 provided by Microsoft. That it downloads the MSI to the temp folder and installs it for you.
Prove it.
Prove it. All right, I will. Before I had a dash preview because it wasn't released yet, so we'll try it now with the non-preview and we'll see if it works.
Oh, hey, look right there. And it says version 7, not version 7 preview.
All right.
So I think we're good. Exciting.
JJ loves it when we test stuff live.
I know. There's no other time to test.
It's kind of fun. I like to watch you sweat a little.
That's
true.
Yeah. All right. So while it's installing, I'm just going to go over I don't know about my favorite, but something that had probably the greatest impact for me with a 6-core. If you wanted to run a module, you would have to install the Windows compatibility feature and then go through the modules. But now, if you have Windows PowerShell 5.1 installed, you can just call the modules directly, which I know it's not a huge undertaking. There's a quick couple steps around it, but I enjoy not running those steps.
Okay, so we're opening up VS Code here, Visual Studio Code.
Yep.
Awesome.
New terminal.
Cool.
So the first thing you do, and you notice when I'm on VS Code, not ISE. Microsoft has for a long time said they're done with ISE. They're not going to upgrade it. So when it comes to PowerShell 7, there is no ISE anymore. So we use VS Code for our script editor. If you're looking for customization, Celine and I were on a webcast on that where she explained why I was wrong about all of it.
That's true. But seriously, to reiterate this, just for the masses here, if you continue to use PowerShell ISE, you are only using Windows PowerShell at the max of version 5.1. Any of the stuff we talk about here for version 7 is not available to you if you use PowerShell ISE.
Yep. Yeah, so you can't use ISE for that. So first thing you want to do, and I did this earlier, is you want to set PowerShell 7 as the default terminal.
Push!
There's a drop down here where you can select the default terminal. You have your various PowerShells in the bottom one here. PowerShell 7 push, which means the name, the push.exe, has not changed between 6-core and 7.
PowerShell.
Yep.
That's, you go look it up on GitHub. There's a whole discussion around it on PowerShell. Anyway.
All right, yeah, so I guess since we're in here, you can see here we got the PowerShell 7.
Prove it.
You want me to prove it?
Yes.
All right.
I don't know. I guess I'm just a doubtful Chris Johnson.
All right, so I did PS version table, PS version. You'll notice the PS edition, Core. Microsoft says Core's gone, but we got you. We got you, Microsoft.
It's still the Core edition, for the record.
Yep.
Gonna call that out.
Yep. So it is still using .NET Core. It's just it's using 3.0 now instead of a 2-point-something.
3.1, I think.
2. Yeah. All right, so we're gonna just to show the install module.
Cool.
Perhaps if I can see what I'm typing.
No. We only test typing live, and we don't look at our keyboards.
All right, so without any sort of pointers with the Windows connection, we're going to try to install the module active directory and panic because it takes a long time.
Oh, snap.
Also panic.
Yeah, all right.
What it says.
All right, let's see. Well, while we're looking at that, this is a good time to show the one of the main things they added in Git error.
Yeah, this is a good one.
Yeah. So normally we'd have to go through, we'd call the error variable. Got your 0 in there and pull it up. You got the error. There's not a lot in there. There's some information. It's not easy to dig through.
Okay.
But now we've got the new command, just git error.
Sure.
Which I love, and we're going to go to the newest one. And get there, and it puts it as basically as an event. In there we have about a lot more information. So you can see no match was found for the specified search criteria, active directory. Did I spell it right?
Yes.
Whoa, that's not good news then.
Folks, we're going to have a good webcast today.
Yeah, I typed get AD user and there it goes. So my guess is when we did the dry run yesterday and I ran this as the example, it had already installed it. And I didn't uninstall that when I uninstalled PowerShell 7. Thanks, VS Code.
There's some fun things. I mean, it's still brand new.
Yep. Yeah, so there's a little bit, that's good because it went so smooth yesterday. I'm glad we have these errors so we can, drag the time out.
You may encounter them, you may see these, but look, you saw that the command line actually is there.
Yeah, the command is there. So yeah, basically all that happened there was I had already loaded it. Where ISE, every time you log in, you have to reload it. Apparently, it's saved at that time.
Interesting.
On a side note, get error would make a good blog post.
Oh, I wonder who that's for. All right.
If not you, I'm going to beat you to
Whoever
it.
wants to, yeah, right?
Contest.
All right, so now we're going to go and find a couple of the PowerShell row for this one. And the first thing we want to go over that was added was parallel.
Parking? I like
parallel
that.
parking.
No one can do it well.
Cars do it for you now.
What?
Yeah.
There are mini cars. Yeah, you start and then you push a button in it.
Apparently Kelly's really good at it.
Guys, I am the king of parallel parking.
Excellent.
Seriously.
Yep.
I rock.
All right, so for
Just
our
saying.
example, I'm terrible at it. But I didn't buy a vehicle that did it for me because...
But now you have a button and
now I have a
keyboard
button.
and typing.
That'll be another blog post.
Well,
Parallel parking via PowerShell. Don't do this, please. Don't.
No.
Just
so line one, and this is why Active Directory is so important, is I'm using get AD user for my example case.
Wait, does Tesla run PowerShell?
if not, it should.
It should.
Parallel park with Tesla.
All right, so all we're running here is we're grabbing all the AD users for this domain.
Okay.
And we're specifying if they're enabled, but we're not going to see that because we have the measure command in there. We're basically going to see how long it takes that to run.
Boring.
Boring
Just
indeed.
kidding.
So 17 milliseconds, which is
And
going to be a
zeros?
hard time to see the value of parallel when it runs that quick.
That's fast.
Yeah. So we introduced right here a imaginary pause, like say we're doing something neat with it. Imagine I could do something cool with PowerShell. I'm doing that. It takes 100 milliseconds.
So for each item we're iterating through, it's
Yeah.
adding 100 milliseconds. For
milliseconds,
each
yeah.
10, we're adding 1 second. I mean, math,
Yeah.
fun.
So now see it takes 2 seconds and 436
Okay,
milliseconds. All right. So the bottom here, all we did is we added parallel to the for each.
Ooh, fancy.
So it's just going to be able to run groups at the same time, save a lot of time here. Oop, maybe. Can I highlight?
No.
Nailed it.
No, highlighted it.
All right, and it took 765 milliseconds. So even in this case where our for each aren't doing a lot, just an artificial time, it cut off 2 seconds. So if you have a script out there where you're manipulating a lot of data and you go through a lot of for each, this could save you a ton of time.
Yeah, so I do want to point out one thing before we go on here, though. This is for CPU-intensive tasks that you want to like divvy out, right? Something that you might use jobs for, although those spin up separate, instances. But in this case, for the parallel, I think it spins up separate spaces. So, I mean, be aware of this. I think the default, there is a throttle limit, I believe. If we actually, after this script block, if you do dash throttle limit, there's this. I think the default's 5. So if we actually change to 10, in this case, that would happen so fast that you wouldn't notice it. But
So we're going to increase the milliseconds to
500.
500, a little bit longer pause.
And see what happens. Because at this point, now for every 2, we're getting 1 second as opposed to 10. But notice, it's done. How long did it take?
It ran 1.5 seconds.
Right. But we're adding 5 times the amount of delay per item, but still it's really fast. Play around with the throttle limit if you end up having to have CPU-intensive stuff, but just realize that there is a limit. Test it if you want, but I mean, your machine's as strong as your machine is. So.
Hey, I have a question for you.
All right.
What's the past tense of highlight? Is it highlighted or highlit?
I do not know.
Uh,
I'm pretty sure I said highlighted.
No,
Past lit.
I think you did, but
Oh.
it's
I don't know.
I've always wondered.
I've always said highlighted, but I now want to say past lit or low lit or
Past
something
lit.
just to...
We also have a real question.
Well, oh, a real
Oh,
question.
Not my silliness.
All right.
Who has questions?
All right.
Oh.
Dear Chris and Jordan, will PowerShell be native to other platforms or does it have to be installed? Sincerely, Brian, uppercase G.
So as far as I know, it's not native to anything. With Ubuntu, you can specify when you're first installing it that to install PowerShell then. But other than that, I don't know of anything that has it native. With PowerShell 7, you got to go through that and get it.
Right. Native is a little bit of possibly a misnomer here because in many cases for like Unix, Linux operating systems, you can choose what shell you want to use. So you can pick that, but when you say like a default one or native one, I'm assuming you mean like when you get in the install media or you get something and you're making an image or using an image to make a VM or something. That's up to the distributions community and the actual project itself. But go look at the PowerShell GitHub repo, the page itself. It'll show what systems are supported. You'll notice, or maybe not, that it reflects directly what .NET Core supports, and you'll see a bunch that are natively supported, to use that term again, but then some that are community supported. Like I think Arch Linux might be a community one, but I don't remember if that's natively supported or not. But regardless, if not as part of the install media, as part of your installation and setup process, you can script it out to install that and use it. It's pretty straightforward. If you have any questions, I mean, feel free to reach out in the community or someone. I mean, if I don't know, I'll help. I mean, that'll probably be wrong, but it's cool.
We will stumble through it with you.
Yeah.
All right.
Good question,
So yeah, that's a great question. All right. So with PowerShell 7, outside of like the git error and the parallel, they're big on streamlining. Streamlining the code now. So they added something called Ternary.
Ternary!
Which, I'll be honest, as someone who started in PowerShell only did that, I didn't know what it was. And when I read that, I said neat. But people that do like your .NET or your C code, they seem very excited about it.
Right, we looked at that and said, oh, that's kind of cool. That's neat.
So it turns out it needed more than just my neat.
That's great.
All right, so just kind of highlight this one. We both written scripts where you're grabbing a lot of data, and at the end you're assigning the data variable and you create a PS object out of it. So we're just going to kind of recreate that on how it used to be and how you can do it with ternary, how it goes quicker.
Sure.
All right, so we've got if the food is delicious, it's a sandwich, or else it's tofu. All right, if nutritious is not null, it's some kind of vegetable maybe.
That's the wrong answer.
Yeah.
Because the better answer is corned bead.
Yeah. If it is not null, corned beef, bead. Nice.
What in the world? I don't want corned bead. I want corned beef and duck.
Corned beef and duck. And if you're on the keto, it's like fatty meats are good. I don't want that argument. We're just going to say that's not nutritious.
But it's delicious.
It is delicious. All right, and then the last one, we're testing a path, and the value is this doesn't fit the food analogy.
That's not a path at all.
And if there's no path, it's like, but it's such a good example.
Yeah.
All right.
Fair enough. So notice, when he's running these variables, food, nutritious, path, these aren't set, so they're going to fail.
Yeah, so I'm going to get the else on all of them with the test path fail. And then when we actually build the object, we get the tofu, corned beef, and duck, but it's such a good example. All right.
Okay.
So now if we go to see how we can do that in ternary, first of all, actually, let's set values for those variables, huh? What do we got food.
While you said that, just, I mean, for those that don't know, I mean, there are, when we're talking about ternary, we're talking about ternary operators. That's basically saying, or ternary statements rather, because you have 2 operators and 3 operands or 3 arguments. That's where the ternary comes from. So in this case, you'll see here in a bit that it has the statement, and then you'll have another followed by an operator, 1 value, which you'll see here in a bit, and then another operator, and then something else. But you're used to them. You're used to binary operators because you set this value to equal to that. Cool. Or unary, because if you've ever done value or I plus plus or plus plus I, those are unary ones. Just okay. Anyway, we're back.
Yeah, all right, we're back. So, Subai did those right. We'll find out shortly. So, as he was saying, so instead of having the if-else statement, we just have the PS capstone object. We have quality equals, and then we have the same food equals delicious. Then it's just a single question mark, and then you have your 2 options which are separated by a colon. So sandwich, tofu.
I'm losing it. This is great.
The good for you comes down to is nutritious null, some kind of vegetable maybe, or corned beef and duck.
Okay.
And then the nonsense, there's the test path one. All right,
is nonsense.
Yeah, so this time we should get sandwich, some kind of vegetable, and this does not fit the analogy.
Why?
Because I actually set values that meet the needs of all of our if-else statements. I mean, I believe that I did. We're about to find out.
Sure.
And you said sandwich, some kind of vegetable maybe. This is not fit the food analogy. All right.
For clear, do you mind if I type for just a second?
Absolutely.
Just for a clear cut, because we're having fun here, but just in case some of you don't like fun, you can also do this. So true, this question mark, and then this is true, colon, this is false. If I run this, it's going to be true because I'm saying if this calculates, expresses itself, oh my gosh, true, cool. If I do false and run that, it's going to be this is false because it's actually going to do the second one. Anyway, thank you.
There is the boring academic way that probably makes sense to everybody.
Yes,
All right,
I do
so-
like your sandwiches though.
Yeah, so, and I mean, both of these will work. It comes down to your preference and readability.
Sure.
When I first dove into this, the ternary option, I still hope I'm pronouncing that right. I never looked up. Now it makes sense, but before that would have made no sense at all to me.
Sure.
It would, if I was reading that in a PowerShell script, I wouldn't have been able to do any fixes or corrections that need to be done.
Right, but now, I mean,
Yeah.
Jordan can take that knowledge that he's gained around
Yeah.
this. He can go poke around at some C# project or something on the web and look at something, and instead of saying, "Oh my goodness, I don't know what that's doing," he'd be like, I see you.
Alert Chase, I'm messing with his code later.
Ooh, that'll be fun.
All right, so outside of the ternary, which is awesome, they also have the pipeline chain operators.
Cool. What's that?
All right, so these are basically, instead of, boy, I'm going to get there. Instead of the pipeline, it's like the double ampersand is like a and statement, and the double pipe is like an or statement.
An ought
An
statement.
ought. I ought to know better.
You ought to spell that correctly.
All right, so just an example is like if you have something like in this case, we have write output first, then the and statement, then write output second, it's going to run both of those. First and second, you see. And the other one, we have an or statement, where because we did the two pipeline, if we run that, we're going to get only the first one because it runs the first one, that worked, it's done.
So why is that?
So it's
Question.
I guess for a good example is if there's something that might not be true or not, if you want it to continue or how it's going to react to that. So
You may be familiar if you've ever done, if you're Windows sysadmins, which I'm guessing a lot of you are, you've probably done this in batch files maybe. It's the same concept.
yeah. Oh, I read a great description online that I can't remember.
Oh, that's amazing, but I don't
It's
remember.
very helpful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
one second. I'm going to come up with it while I go over the other ones. The other important part is you can string them together. I'm going to remember this.
Good.
So get child item, and then basically if important.txt does not exist, then it will write the error no file, which will actually because of the error. Or if it doesn't, then it will get the content within the file.
Excellent.
So we're in that one. We're in this one where there is no file. We come back with the error that we threw up. No file, which
No
is
file.
right in red. I hope that's readable.
No, red is never readable.
All right, so it was something along the lines of pipeline is based on the data retrieved, and
Sure.
the chain operators is based on the result of the command. I'm close.
Yeah, no, you basically got
I'm
it. I mean,
close.
if you have a successful command, the chain operator ampersand will say, "Hey, go do the next command," whereas the OR one says, "Hey, if you have a successful command, don't do the following, but do the inverse if it fails." So anyway,
All right. An important thing to know about chain operators is it will continue if the error is not a terminating error, but if it is a terminating error, you won't see the result is just going to stop at the terminating error.
that's a bad exception.
Exception is bad.
That's
All right,
great.
and I guess to kind of build on that one, that includes like if you have a try catch because you're doing error handling,
Yeah.
the terminating exception is still going to break the chain operator
Okay.
even if it's caught. So
Show me.
we'll run all of that.
I don't believe you. Okay.
And then, so we still have we caught bad and then it says done. So if you are doing error handling, which you should, I don't, I'm terrible at it, but you should.
Someone catches Jordan's errors for him,
it is-
really.
that's what Colby's for.
Thanks, Colby.
No problem.
Right. Yeah, but so you just have to be aware of if the error is terminating, it's still going to break the chain operator even if you are
Cool.
capturing that.
We should call this the Fleetwood Mac try-catch. Can't play the song right now.
No, we can't, but it's now
Got this
going.
video banned, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
All right, so that's kind of the first pipeline. The last one would be kind of a null. I already forgot the name. I'm going to read what I have here. Null-conditional operators. I wrote it down twice.
You did.
Multiple locations. All right, so just kind of an example of how it was in PowerShell. We have a if null equals awesome variable. Nothing is it is here. Else it prints out the variable.
Sure.
And as there is no variable, he said hopefully, we get the nothing is here.
He was correct.
So they have that where you can just replace that with two question marks and it will do the same argument. So we have
So what do you expect here when you run this?
on this one it should be no value. No value. I didn't make it the same because apparently
No, I think it's
Oops,
good.
yeah.
I think it's great.
Yeah, so it's following the same logic, but the results are the same. So what we have here, and the bottom line here is we have the awesome variable. If it is null, we have an equal, so we can assign something to the variable.
Yes.
Which you do that, so we are adding to it. So now if we come up to the top one here,
Yeah.
we do the comparison. Now we are adding to it.
Now, for fun, can you run the other one as well?
Yep, and this one should also say we are adding to it.
Oh, man.
So everything, a lot of stuff they have just makes it, you can streamline the code
Yeah.
just so much.
And once you understand the actual syntax here, it makes it very, very condensed without losing the meaning. So it's nice.
Right, do we have any other questions? Or?
Dear Chris and Jordan, what do we lose in Windows by moving from PowerShell 5.1 to PowerShell 7? Sincerely, Billy Z.
All right, so
Can I answer this one? I want to. Nothing at all. You can install them side by side. Sorry, if I'm stealing your thunder, I stole your thunder. So go.
No, so a lot of the push for 7 was because Core was for cross-platform, but it missed a lot of Windows things. 7 kept all the cross-platform, but they're working on adding the cross-compatibility. Yeah. So very little, if anything, is going to be missing.
Yeah, in fact, to build off this, so when PowerShell Core 6 was released and in development, and a few subsequent versions of that, a lot of the stuff that they had in that version of .NET Core you weren't able to use some of the UI elements that you may have been familiar with Windows PowerShell 5.1. So for example, if you did get help, some command, and then use the parameter show window, boop, it'll pop up in a window. You couldn't do that in Core. Likewise, there was no commandlet for, send to grid, or what was, send?
Out dash grid view?
Out dash grid view, thank you.
Yes.
Wow, it's been a while since I've used that command, but there it is. That was gone in 6, but it's back in 7. So
I love that command.
Yeah, so going from 5.1 to 7 is actually pretty easy, as opposed to going from 5.1 to 6, because you lose a lot of stuff you may be familiar with or used to.
Yep.
Do we lose ISE, though?
Oh, yeah, so we covered that earlier, yeah. ISE does not work at all with 7. You got to switch to a different script editor. We use VS Code. That one's constantly being updated.
Right. You might say it's nice.
Yeah, so Microsoft hasn't updated or made a change to ISE for a long time. They've announced that they consider that complete.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if you are going to use 7, you are going to have to be on a different script editor.
Yes.
Yep. All right, we have some follow-up question.
Yeah, kind of a follow-along. Someone did ask, what is replacing ISE? That was from Merp High.
All right, so for most of us in the office, we're switching to VS Code.
Yep.
Celine, who did her first webcast a couple weeks ago, she went through and she set up VS Code to work with PowerShell. If you watch that one, she has a lot of useful information in there.
We'll post a link in the YouTube video on the after show.
And when he says to work with VS Code, work well with VS Code. Because both Jordan and myself actually had some grievances when switching to VS Code with the PowerShell extension for VS Code because of things like the IntelliSense being slow.
So slow.
Oh my goodness. And when you're typing, and it doesn't,
that is exactly how he types.
Do really fast. And it's like when I really speak fast, which I'm not doing right now, and I trip on my words and I choke or, stuff comes out my nose. That's what it feels like, but in code.
So all kinds of problems. So our solution when we ran into those problems was not to look into how we can fix it. We stopped using it.
Yes.
Chris is busy, and I just didn't want to. But
yes.
But Celine took the time to explain how simple it was to fix and point out that I just did it wrong.
Yeah, and as Jordan just said, to recapture that, Microsoft has essentially said the PowerShell ISE is complete. Yep. It is there. It is going to always be there with for use with PowerShell 5.1 and previous whatever. But it's always going to be there. But they do recommend that you at least consider an alternative, and they do recommend the Visual Studio Code because it is constantly in development and is being. A lot of features are being added to that every month. Like, it's amazing. If you ever have never installed it, or if you have, just take a look at the actual update notes for a given month. It's like super long, and it's full of lots of goodies.
Yeah, it's even from the first time when I failed to use it properly to now, the changes that are in there are just, it is a fantastic. I actually rarely use ISE anymore, which for me to say that means something because I hate change.
It's very true. I will attest to that.
Yeah, the first stumbling block before the IntelliSense was I didn't like that I couldn't get the ISE color scheme.
It's true, and then now he can very easily. When you get the PowerShell extension, it says, hey...
Would you like the right color scheme? And it is the right color scheme.
He's wrong, but yes, he'll ask you. Those of us who, are actually normal people who use PowerShell, prefer things that aren't, blinding your eyeballs. But that's cool.
All right. So, I guess we have another thing. I guess a lot of people didn't do 6 because it didn't work as well. I mean, it worked with Windows, but not as well as Windows PowerShell 5.1. So we can go over some things that are in 6 that you might find a lot of value in.
Sure.
I guess. One of those, if you end a command with an ampersand, it will run as a job now.
Show me.
All right, I will. That is a job. All right.
It's taking my job.
I guess to prove it works, I'll run receive job, whatever.
If you spell it right, that'd be great.
Don't tell me the I before E's. There's no C's.
Except when you receive jobs.
We want job ID 3.
Just hit enter.
Enter. Yeah, what did I do wrong here? Oh, I didn't specify. All right, receive job.
This is fun.
I know what I'm doing.
Uh-huh.
I've been doing this since you were in short pants.
Yeah,
All right,
probably.
now that I specified the ID properly, you can see that it did run as a job.
Great job there. Vague reference. Get it.
All right, another thing, and this comes more into play if you are having cross-platform, they have a new command, remove alias. So if there's an alias that conflicts between your systems, you can just run that command to cut that out.
Yeah.
I don't want to do this one here because I'm wary to change something like that for future webcasts. But
You can restore them. But okay.
all right, is there anything in particular with 6 or 7 that you want to talk about?
Yeah, actually, I'll talk a little bit. One of the things that I do like, because I play with JSON a lot, and so two things.
The data
One,
type or the person?
both. Sometimes in conjunction with each other. But so let's say I have this fancy little, fancy JSON, or let's make it a hash table. Fancy hash. So in this case, I'm just going to do just some basic stuff here. So, first equals 1, and then we'll do second equals 2, and we'll do third equals 3.
I assume this is compatible with JSON.
Yes. So that's actually not. Let's make it a little bit more complex. Now I think about it.
All right.
Let's do a fourth one. Let's do 4 equals. And let's actually nest it a little bit here, and we'll do nest 1. And notice I'm not very creative here because I don't really have valid data here, but I want to show you something. So nest 1 and nest 2 equals. Let's do another nest.
Not having valid data is my wheelhouse.
Nest 1 equals 11 because 1 and 1 anyway. So we'll do that. Fancy hash, and if you're used to using hash tables, it's cool. I do okay dot 4 or 4. Oh, okay dot nest 2, and anyway. You might, at some point, if you're interacting with a system that needs in the JSON format, let's say you're interacting with some REST API or something, right? Some REST endpoint. You might be tempted, and probably not only would be tempted, would do something like convert to JSON, I think is command, and you'll see this fancy thing. And by fancy, I mean it gets cool. If I ran this same command, I'm going to. We're doing it.
All right, we're doing it live. What could go wrong?
You have IC open still, good, awesome. So I'm going to run this command. So we're going to see fancy hash, looks similar, but if I do convert to JSON, look at all the spacing and indentation. That when you get a big file or a big set of data here, and especially if it's nested quite a bit, that gets very hard to read.
Not a
but
fan.
if you look here, it's very, very condensed and much easier to read.
Beautiful.
Additionally, one of the cool things that I like, if in ISC you said, oh, okay, well, I'll take that fancy hash, I'll convert to JSON. You know what? At some point, maybe I receive a response, that's JSON. We'll just use the same JSON data just as an example, but I want to convert from JSON. Convert from JSON, typing. What I get here, enter, is a PS custom object. Whoop. What you can do in sorry, what was that?
Oh, so say where before it was a hash table.
Correct.
Or a different type, so it's a different type of
And
object.
you could probably interact with it and be just fine. But for convenience, in the new fancy version here, convert to JSON, convert from JSON, again, assuming that you've got a response back that looks cool. If I don't do anything, it's the same, get member, it's still a PS custom object here, but they added a new parameter here. So I'll run that command again, but I'll add the parameter weep, 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 as hash table. So then now I get my hash table back, the exact same one.
Yeah,
That's cool.
Yes, it's a lot of, if you mess with different data types where you're pulling from, they made it a lot easier to switch back and forth to get the information you need.
Anyway, that was my thing. I play with JSON quite a bit, so I like that.
All right, so I guess the last thing, and I'm not going to show this one because we're running low on time, but shameless plug.
Oh.
If you I have a blog about creating a hipster playlist from Spotify.
Oh, yeah.
It has a lot of REST API, and it looks very complex. There's a lot to it. This removes all of that. It's like 3 commands now.
Right. So he goes through it, like having to get the token from like the zero out stuff.
Yeah.
Like you can do that natively with invoke REST method now, I believe.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. So I went through and I went over, like we built a custom browser on the fly so we could grab the string within the address.
Yeah.
It was very complex, but now it really is like 2 commands. The entire thing is undone.
Yeah.
There's no reason.
There's fun stuff. There's even a get uptime commandlet now. Let's run that guy. I want to see get uptime. This is cool. I like this. Especially if you're trying to run this on a machine out there and you just want to do stuff. Oh my goodness, it's so fast. I get all the data and it's easy to parse, easy to interact with. It's not like old system time stuff where you're like, oh, I'll get all this, parse the data, parse the strings, get the thing, go do the stuff. Yeah, it's nice.
All right. I'm sorry, I can't.
Yeah.
Oh, the remove service? I mean, it is a command. I have not messed with it too much.
We'll do it live.
Yeah. Is there any particular service we're looking to remove?
No, probably.
We should probably be careful about that.
Yeah, let's not. There, it exists now.
Oh, can we do a what if or what's the?
Does it have what if? Yes, it does.
PDQ deploy, PDQ inventory. That's it.
Oh, I hope this works. I hope.
It's what if. It won't break.
What do you want to do? PD?
What's what I'm saying. I hope the what if works.
Yeah, we'll find out.
If not, before an operation, remove service on target, PDQ deploy. Okay, so according to the what if, I'm not going to run that.
Okay,
live.
fine.
I would, but JJ scares me.
It's great. It's just fun. There's a lot of cool stuff. Again, one of the things we want to point out is, so many of you, if you're on Windows, you're not, and probably haven't used PowerShell Core 6 too much, unless you're interacting with Linux, Mac, or whatever, then you might. But now, you might be more intrigued and more easily able to move to 7, so it is a good version.
Yeah. So me who fears change, I didn't touch 6 other than to do a couple of presentations about how to install on Linux. I never really used it after that.
Yeah.
7 is now the one I use on my day-to-day.
Yeah.
I love it.
So do I.
I would recommend you at least give it a shot.
Yeah, in fact, if you use PDQ deploy, I believe it's, if not shortly, we're having the update for the package library for PowerShell 7.
It is available.
Yeah, okay, cool. I saw it, wasn't sure if it was internal only, so Colby has verified this.
Shortly, as in now.
Now. I'm a time traveler, so that's
All
great.
right. All right, thanks for tuning in. Hopefully we gave you enough to make you really interested to dive in and give it a shot. It is worth looking into.
PowerShell 7!
All right, thanks. I'm Jordan.
I'm Chris, PDQ.com.
Thanks for joining our webcast today. Congratulations, Bill, Z, and Murphy, winners of PDQ swag. Send us your info at webcast@pdq.com. Thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you back here next week.